Good morning. Coffins, that might work. Carol, are you at a location where you can see the screen? Testing, testing. Can you hear me, Carol? Good morning, Chris. I didn't see you, buddy.
No, that's okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
All right, good deal. I was just getting ready to send you a text.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Let me know you're here. Well, I've been looking for you, and then I stopped looking for you while I was doing some other stuff.
Oh.
Okay, Carol, if you can see, I have another guest here. Come here. Somebody wants to see you. Look. No, you got to look at the camera first.
Teddy.
They're talking about you. He's going to get down. We're in negotiating contract disputes at the moment.
Union talks.
Yeah, well, he was watching chat last night when I was in Monarch Moments, and he saw where Carol said she really only watches the show for Teddy, not me. Then she said, "Oh, I hope Tim didn't see that," but he did, and so did Teddy. So now he's got the big head, and he wants more money, and he thinks he deserves headline. I gave him headline once, and he didn't show up. So it's he still thinks it's he's wanting more nap time. I don't know how many more hours a day he can sleep. I mean, there's only 24 in a day, and that just about covers him, or he just about covers it. How are you this morning, buddy?
I'm hanging in there. How about you?
I'm hanging in there too, I reckon. I've been a little bit sore this week. I'm not sure exactly what all's going on. Oh, now you can. So now, would you like me to bring Teddy back on screen, Carol? Good morning, Adventures by D. Who do I have this morning? Or is that a dumb question? Hang on just a minute, and I'm gonna come here one more time. Miss Carol wants to see you. Now look, say hi, be nice. She's one of your biggest fans.
I'll be right back.
Okay. See, she said hello to Teddy and proclaimed you the super. I wish you'd stop that, Carol. He's getting a big head. I can't deal with him. He's wanting more money. He wants more airtime. He wants more sleep time. I mean, he wants everything. And like right now, he wants to go back to bed. All right, hop down. Oh, good. I'm glad you got to see him. He may or may not come back in. He might. He probably will if he wakes up here in a minute. Right now, he's had. Well, actually, he's a little embarrassed. He said he has salmon breath. He had salmon for breakfast. Well, good morning, Mike and Val, or Mike or Val, or Val or Mike. Carol sent you a heart. She thinks you're just the best. You're supposed to be my show, not your show. Oh, we'll talk about that later. I'm getting the stink eye, Carol. Thanks. I think Chris has stepped out for a moment, but he'll be right back. So how's everybody feeling this fine Saturday morning? The sun's shining here. Last Saturday it was raining. So this week's better on that part at least. Man, I need a haircut. Oh, well, I think the barber's in today. We'll see if she'll do it. You like me okay? Well, that's good, Carol. I appreciate that. I understand. If I was you, I'd probably like Teddy better too. He's special. He grabbed me before the show started, and I thought he was going to draw blood, but he backed off. He is terrible about letting me clip his claws. I don't really like to declaw him because if he got out, I wouldn't want him not to be able to protect himself. But he unfortunately wills these razor sharp switch claws. Who was it? What cartoon was that? Sylvester had switch claws. Anyway, he won't let me clip him very much. I have to have help holding him. I mean, as you can see, he's about more than I can handle. So if he tries to pull away or squirm away, I pretty much can't hold him and hold clippers at the same time. My daughter's a pet groomer, but she doesn't really want to come over and do him either, I don't think. 48 and sunny. I'm not sure what the temperature is here, Carol, but I believe we're a little warmer than 48 this morning. Well, maybe not. My phone says we're still 48, so I guess we're about the same. But it is sunny. That's, like I said, that's good. Okay. We don't want to hear it down in Florida. That's, that's why you guys don't get sympathy when the hurricanes come through. You make fun of everybody that lives north of you in the wintertime and stuff when you're in the mild and tropical 80s and we're all up here in the 20s and 30s, or in Carol's case, maybe teens or aughts. Well, that's good. Adventures by D. You guys, I think, are Central Georgia-ish. So sounds like between here and Florida, we got sunshine today. We had some storms blow through yesterday. It was the wind got a little rowdy yesterday afternoon. Carol, are you doing swimming lessons this morning, or is that over for the time being? My nose is itching. What does that mean? Company? Money? I can't remember. Oh, money's when your palm itches. I've discovered a new YouTube site. It's all about Appalachian culture. I don't remember the lady's name that runs it, but she talks a lot like me, and she tells a lot of the same stories I heard growing up. And she also, I was looking to see if I still had her web address up. I don't. Explain some of those folk sayings that we used to have down here, like, if your nose is itching, company's coming, or if your hand itches, money, you're going to come into money, or that sort of thing. Okay, I think I have company back. Let's see. Are you back, Chris?
I'm back. You got me?
I do. I don't know. I've got you on two screens.
I had to go mobile. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. Well, no, that's fine. I'm going to boot one of you off here. Which
That's
one
fine.
are you under, the aviation guy or the orca guy?
I'm the aviation guy. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to move it just so I don't, if you want to this first reply.
If you want, you could probably scoot the other one back screen if you want.
Yeah, I did. Well, I did. I just,
okay.
I just didn't want to click on the wrong one and be sitting here talking, like, thinking, well, why ain't he talking to me? But I know why. So now I got you. Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Sweet Cheeks, good morning. You missed Teddy. He'll probably make another appearance, but right now he's taking his mid-show nap. Actually, this would probably be better called his first quarter nap. So Tina, we've been talking. Go ahead. Who was that? Oh, I'm getting a little bit of echo. Tina, how's the weather in New York? We've had weather reports from Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Michigan. So how's New York looking?
We're getting up to 83 here today.
Oh, really? What is it right now? Do you know?
Let me see here.
We're ranging from 48 to 79, I believe.
Yeah, we might be in the 50s here for now.
It's cold. How cold is it, Tina?
It's cold.
And don't say it's 52 and it's cold. You don't live in Florida. That's what they say. I expect better out of you.
I'll send some warm weather your way, Tina.
Good morning, Amy. AJC Magic TV. Good to see you. It's going to be in the 50s. Well, that's not so bad. It's looks like it's supposed to be about 70 here today.
How is it we're warmer than you today?
Today? I don't know. Well, it's just mountains have something to do with it. I mean, I'm down in the valley, but these mountains tend to hold cold air in. Sometimes that's the only thing I can figure out. Our elevation here is probably not much different than your actual elevation.
Well, I'm guessing it's going to be a little bit windy. Maybe coming from the south, might be getting that. And I sound like a meteorologist. It's going to be windy coming from the south. It's going to have some of that warm Gulf air. Yeah.
Well, we had a front come through last night, and this is probably the back. It's maybe the backside of that. It's been a little warmer this week, but last weekend, I think it was last weekend, it was in the 30s again. So it's been kind of up and down. It's that kind of year, but I'd take it because I know any day now summer's going to break out here, and then once that happens, it's all over but sweating.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the humidity, the dew point will be up there. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, fun in the south or partial south, whatever. I don't consider this deep south, but it's south enough and it gets hot and humid. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I love it. When we fly in the TBM, we're all sweating on the ground. and we get up to about 3,000 feet. We're all freezing.
Yeah. Excuse me. Why do I do that? I don't yawn all morning until I get on here and then I start. Well, what was it I used to hear? At least 3 degrees per 1,000 feet as you gained altitude. I'm not sure if that's true or not. I can't remember now, but I was just reading. I told you I've been reading this book about World War One fighter pilots last week called Open Cockpit. And the guy's name's Gould. Last name's Gould, anyway. Anyway, he was talking about the fact that he's flying a Sopwith pup at this stage of the war. I'm thinking about 1915 or so, I believe is when he's in right now. And good morning, Mike Cabral. Good to see you. Did you get over that tongue episode last night? I don't know, Chris. Were you in Monarch Moments? I'll come back to the aviation story. I won't forget. She was cooking. Yeah. Michelle was cooking tongue last night.
Yeah, I think when she peeled back the outer skin and everything, I was like, I don't know.
I think a lot of people turned away.
Yeah.
I'm not too weak a stomach, but I'm not sure I'd want to eat that. But, the sheep's tongue, anyway, the beef tongue, it actually might have cooked up okay. I can't honestly say I've ever had it. Excuse me. So anyway, back to my other story. This guy that flies, a Sopwith pup wasn't the best fighter at the time. It probably came out as a good fighter, and then, of course, quickly got elapsed by the German. Some of the German stuff, like the Albatross, like the Red Baron flew, and then actually the French had a couple of good fighters, and the British eventually had a couple more good ones, like the Sopwith Camel. But anyway, the pup was really maneuverable, but it wasn't as fast as the Albatross, the German planes, or quite as powerful but it could get up, but it was better at altitude. So they did these, what they called high altitude patrols, and they got up around 17 to 20,000 feet, which actually surprised me that they got that high. They had no oxygen.
Without oxygen. Yeah.
And they're in an open cockpit. So, basically they're wearing weld grease on their face to keep their faces from freezing. They've got all this, I guess, wool line, fleece line uniform or flying suits on, but he talks about how cold it is up there in an open cockpit at 20,000 feet. I can just imagine. He didn't really talk about what the temperature is on the ground level, but of course, when you're on the ground level and you're putting on all that sheepskin and everything to stay warm at altitude, you're probably in a soaking sweat by the time you get in the cockpit, and then by the time you get to altitude, you're freezing. But I thought was kind of interesting.
You start to sweat a little bit if you end up in a dogfight.
Yeah. Oh well. Yeah, that too. He did talk about that. Warmed him up a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Hey Mike, I don't blame you. I think you aren't the only one that was scarred. Tina, I'd like to have your opinion on. Oh, let's not mention last night, Tina. I'm sorry. I didn't see that in time. I apologize. I didn't mean to bring it up. I didn't realize that you were that sensitive about it. I saw somebody else. Hang on, Mike or Chris. I saw somebody else come in. I thought. And
morning, Andy.
Mike.
Morning, Kipper.
Well, I don't know who I saw. Maybe it was Mike. Maybe I saw Mike.
Mike.
And so Adventures by D, I believe somebody said that was David. I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, David. Or maybe that makes sense. Maybe you go by Adventures by D, and does your other half go by Adventures by A? Did I see that last night? Anyway, you can clarify that. I'm not too bright on these things. I forget some of this stuff.
Tina said it's completely fine.
Okay.
Totally fine to talk about it.
I don't want to spoil your lunch or anything this morning.
Yeah, late breakfast.
Well, I just wish it would help me a lot if Michelle would just get her a better set of kitchen knives, and it's a little bit sharper. I mean, I've got a chef's knife like she was using last night, but I don't use it to carve everything.
The parts of it was starting to look like pulled pork.
Well, it did. The big tongue actually looked to me like it was coming apart pretty nicely. And
Yeah.
if it was seasoned properly and already skinned out and pulled apart, where you didn't, think about the papilla on the tongue and all that kind of stuff, it might not be bad at all. But I don't think I've ever had it unless I had it in, tacos or something and didn't realize it, which is possible. Pulled pork. Yes, let's call it pulled pork, Tina. I agree.
Morning, Tina.
I have to admit, though, watching Michelle cook is entertaining.
Especially with Garrett.
Especially with Garrett's banter in the background, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking she needs to tie him to the chair and make him eat everything she cooks. That way, if it's good, that's fine. But if it's not, then he gets to suffer right along with everybody else. I swear, I think last time he may have had to leave the room. He got really quiet.
The Spaceballs alien dancing around. That had me laughing pretty good.
Yeah. That was pretty funny. I don't think it may not have helped those with weak stomachs much, but
no.
Let's see. Who else do we have? Mike, you're the furthest north if we got here, Mike Cabral. How cold? What's the temperature up there today? And you can give it to us in Celsius or Fahrenheit, whatever you use. I'll do the math if I need to.
I'm scared for the rest, or scarred for the rest of my life.
Yeah, well, I mean, some people are a lot more sensitive about food than others. I wonder if her dog ate the sheep's tongue. I'd be really curious to know if he liked it. I don't know, but lamb is just something we didn't eat a lot around here. It just wasn't common. You can find it. Some people I know that do eat it. I have a good friend I worked with for years at TVA who was pretty much raised on a sheep ranch out in Idaho or in the West. His father worked for the USDA, agriculture department for the United States. And he was they did a sheep research farm where they raised sheep and different breeds and, tried different kinds of feed and all that kind of stuff. So he ate quite a bit of lamb when he was growing up. And
Euros are pretty good.
Do what?
I like the Euros are pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I have had lamb there, and I've actually had some barbecued lamb at Wilderness Lodge at Disney, and I've had Euros there too. I believe at the Morocco, if that was lamb. I don't know what they serve there. I would guess lamb, but I'm not positive.
Wilderness Lodge on my bucket list.
Oh man, it's a nice place. We really like it. I don't worry about the gross food. I just focus on the chat, and then when they show it, that's what Carol had to say. Mystery meat, yeah, that is a bit like mystery meat. That's why it's probably better if it's put into something else. Then you just don't need to know. If it tastes good, then it's probably okay.
Yeah, add quite a few vegetables, some seasoning, and
a
little bit of broth. won't even notice.
No, maybe enough mashed potatoes to cover it up.
Right.
That's what my wife said last night. I was telling her about the tongue, and she said something to the effect of when she was little, her mom wanted to make her eat liver, and so she'd take a little tiny piece of liver and bury it in a big old scoop of mashed potatoes, and she could eat it that way. It's -4 up there. Wow. Let's see. That would probably put you in the 20s, I think, Fahrenheit.
Yeah, I think so.
Or lower 30s at least.
I think 32 is 0.
0, right?
Yeah.
I got a calculator here. I used to kind of be able to convert, but I'm not as good at it as I used to be. Darkroom stuff. I used to do a lot of darkroom stuff, and a lot of the chemical temperatures for the darkroom we're in Celsius, and so not Kelvin. It's about 24, about 25 degrees. So I think so far you're the coldest, Mike. So congratulations. We'll be sending your grand prize to you soon.
That's right. a parka.
Yeah. Oh, that's what gets me. But that's the only thing that gets me with Celsius. It takes some getting used to. Everything below 32 is minus. And when I think -4, I'm thinking that's getting pretty chilly.
Right.
25 doesn't sound near as cold to me as -4.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah, it makes a big difference for me. I can remember we've had those kind of temperatures. Not often, but we have. There was one year when I was in high school where we missed almost a month of school because it came a big snow, and then we had some really cold temperatures. I'm talking 20 below kind of temperatures, which for Tennessee is pretty darn cold. I mean, it may not be in Canada where Mike's at, but down here that's pretty darn cold.
Right.
And it stayed that way for, like I said, almost a month. And I worked with a guy who went out and thawed water pipes and stuff like that for days on end, trying to get people water back and that sort of thing. But there was one weekend in the mid 80s when I was working, or maybe late 80s. I was working weekends in Nashville and had a crew, and we were out there on a Sunday. And the high for that day got up to 12 below. And it was
wow.
Our hangar had the worst heat possible in it. I mean, it had
it's like
heat, but
they're like a big cooler when it comes to that.
Yeah, more like, and then exactly. And this thing was it was mounted in the wall of the hangar, so it didn't get any return air from inside. It was slightly warmed. It was sucking all the air in from the outside, which was -12, and trying to heat it up to something above freezing, and it never made it. And just as we were leaving work that afternoon, we managed to stay there for the shift, but we were in and out of the office a lot trying to stay warm because we didn't have any other heat in the hangar. And just as we were walking out the door, I heard something and walked back in, and lo and behold, the water cooler hanging on the inside wall of the building, it wasn't even touching an outside wall, had burst the pipes in it, and it was spraying water all over the floor. So if we had walked out, 5 minutes sooner, we'd all come into a big skating rink the next day. Good morning, Jay Nashville. Good to see you. How's Virginia this morning? But that was a cold, cold day to try to work. Nothing, paint doesn't work and sealer doesn't work, and a lot of things don't work when it's that cold. You got to have a little bit of warmth to get that stuff activated,
including your nostrils.
Yeah, including your nostrils.
Your nostrils just all of a sudden freeze up when it's that temp.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Well, see, like when Jenna says it's freezing, down in Florida, it's and it could be 40 or 50 degrees. It's that humid, it's that damp cold.
Yeah.
That, when it gets so damp like that, it really does chill you to the bone. And I found this out one year when I was down in Louisiana. It was around Thanksgiving, and I thought I was well prepared. All of a sudden, it dropped down to 48 degrees, and I put on 2 sweatshirts, and I still felt like I was not covered enough.
Yeah, it's funny. I like to give Floridians crap about that, but it's true. I've been down there I lived down there for a couple of years. So I've been down there when it was in the 40s, and it's pretty darn cold, and it feels cold.
It does. Yeah.
It's different. I mean, I don't really mind cold weather too much compared to most people, but I mean, I run around in t-shirts about all winter. I used to when I worked outside a lot, but but down there it's different. That humidity just changes everything. Adds a whole new twist to the weather thing, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it really does, and it almost seems that you need a really hot bath or shower or something just to get that cold off.
Oh, that would be fun, Mike. Probably wasn't fun for your parents when the snow was that high, but
oh, jeez.
The deepest I ever remember snow was probably in the 3 to 4 foot range, and that was probably near records or and drifting, but I've seen a lot of pictures with it that deep, but I've never been in that situation. I've never had to tunnel out of my house to get outside.
For the kids, a big snowboard.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, my kids grew up. I actually grew up about 100 miles further east from here, up in the mountains and higher altitude. And it was always cooler up there than it is down here. It seemed like it was.
Yeah.
And when I was growing up, we actually got snow in the wintertime. I mean, it was not unusual. We didn't get huge snows like further north. It wasn't that common, but we got snow quite a bit. My kids grew up, if they got a big snow, it just meant the roads turned white for a couple hours. Usually, we had very few snows that amounted to anything while they were growing up. It's really changed. I mean, we had the last really. Well, we've had a few. I hate to use the word blizzard because somebody like Mike and Tina and them probably laugh at me, but or sometimes I refer to that down here. We've had big snows.
Like a whiteout.
Well, sort of, but it's just deep enough that it shuts things down here, and it might get a foot deep, which is nothing compared to what they see. But
right.
But in let's see. People still talk about 1993 around here because in 93 in March we had a huge snowstorm, and it got really cold, and people got trapped all over the place. There was a bunch of hikers in the Smokies that weren't prepared for that kind of weather here in late March, and got trapped and had to be rescued and brought out of the mountains and just all kinds of stuff like that. It was yeah, Tina, I know. Seriously, just poof. I get it. I get it. I do understand. It's nothing, but you know how it is. Further south you go, people know even less and less and less about driving in the snow. So any little bit hurts. Plus, we get ice down here. You guys don't get ice usually as bad as we do, but we get about an inch of ice, and then it snows on top of that, and it is kind of rough to drive in. But
and the further south you go, don't really have the salt or the snow plows or anything to spread the salt or the sand or whichever to cover the roads or to take care of any snowfall. So it does get pretty rough.
So you're in Indiana. What do they put on the roads up your way? Do they salt them or do they sand them? I ask because down here it depends on where you're at. Some states use sand and gravel. Some states most of the states use brine around here now. So if they're going to, salt water basically.
In the Midwest, we use salt.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
And they don't call it the Rust Belt for nothing.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, you better be giving your cars or trucks a good wash.
Yeah.
After a little while.
The down here now that the hot lick is that they use brine trucks, and if they think it's going to snow or ice, even though if it gets below a certain temperature, it won't help the ice so much. But they'll brine the roads before it starts raining or snowing, which almost always starts snowing first here, but not always, but almost always. But that brine will turn to liquid with snow. It actually keeps the roads more clear than what I remember just the old salt pellets doing. But probably at a certain temperature, it probably doesn't work very well because the water in the brine probably freezes. But
right.
No, it would be all right, Mike. Thanks for dropping in. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Be safe up in Canada. Stay warm. Anyway, that's how it's changed down here. But North Carolina, they tend to salt or sand roads or put real fine gravel on it, almost sand, like a little bit chat. We used to call it chat, but it's pretty small. And I hate that stuff because when it melts off and everything clears up and the roads are dry, you drive in that stuff or you ride your motorcycle and you go into a corner and the corners are always full of that crap, and it makes your motorcycle pretty squirrely if you hit a big patch of that stuff.
Oh, I bet.
Once it washes off the road, it's fine. But when it first melts off or when it first starts to clear up, it's a real hazard if you're on a bike, or at least I don't like it. But over here, we didn't ever do that. So when I first started running into it in Carolina, it really surprised me. Took me aback,
Oh,
if you will.
I used to work with a guy who he would ride his motorcycle all year long in the snow and in the rain, but he's also had quite a few accidents.
Mm.
You know, you ride in the rain, and luckily he wore a helmet. But yeah,
well, that's good. I tell you what, I went to just a minute. Good morning, Mike Wheeler. How are you doing, sir? Just sit back and listen and wake up. Take your time. I went
Mike.
I went a couple of 3 years when I rode my bike to work every day I know for close to 2 years I never drove a car or never drove a vehicle, unless my wife and I went somewhere, But I rode my bike to work every day, rain or shine. And the coldest I rode it to work that year was -9, or one of those years, not -9. I'm sorry, 9 degrees. And I rode through a lot of rainstorms. I actually kind of got to where I almost liked riding in the rain if it wasn't too bad. It's kind of a whole new world, but you got to have a lot of trust in your tires and your bike and your, I guess I would say skills. But I learned over time to ride. I never was crazy about riding in the rain when I was younger, but when I was younger, I also wasn't afraid of nothing. So it didn't bother me so bad. As I got older, it was kind of iffy. Tires have gotten a lot better now, though. So if a good set of a good set of tires, they stick pretty good in the rain. They design them that way, but for those couple of years, I put a lot of miles on a bike, and really, I loved it. I wish I could have kept doing that. Biggest reason I slowed down was either my back or we moved to a different office, and it wasn't quite as convenient to park there. So I don't like leaving it where people can bother it. Luckily, I've never had, and I've had, knock on wood, I've not had too many wrecks in my life. No major ones. Most of them have been pretty mild. In fact, more of them are probably in the woods, dirt or trail riding, than they were on the street. Although I have had a couple of self-induced things happen in the street. I'll never forget first winter, probably maybe the first New Year's after I had my first bike I was riding. A friend of mine called me. They wanted us to get together out at his parents' place, and another buddy of ours was going to come out just to play guitar, sit around and listen to music and whatever. And so I got out, and I don't know if I had a car then or not. So I got on my bike. I had a smaller bike then, and I headed out that way, and I had what we used to call a bubble face shield. And they were bad to fog and freeze over. And about halfway to his house, my whole face shield just froze over. And I couldn't see diddly, and I ended up off the road and in somebody else's yard. Busted my nose. I had a bloody nose, and busted my shield out. So I ended up finishing the trip down to their house with a bloody face. But fortunately, it wasn't too far to go. But it was cold that night, so it was an interesting little trip.
Good morning, Mike. Yep, I'm here, buddy.
Yeah, he's here, Mike.
Well, you were talking about trail riding through the forest. I mean, that's got to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. We used to do it a fair bit. We had some areas in the national parks back then where we could ride if we strayed on the roads and the trails. And that's always, it was a lot of fun. Probably the most interesting Sunday or Saturday, or it might have been a Sunday, we spent out trail riding one time. Me and the 2 or 3 of my buddies were up this trail, and we found a car that had been abandoned up in the woods in the mountains. It had been driven way off the road, and they busted the oil pan out of it because it was so rocky. They just pretty much destroyed it. And I don't know, you're probably not old enough. You may remember the cars, but it was a Chevy Vega. And
a Chevy Vega. Okay, that gives me a better idea. What type of car?
Well, it turns out it
Wow.
was stolen.
Oh,
And it had been
wow.
stolen off a lot. And we were 15 or 16. I don't know how old we were. Maybe still 14. But so we came out there and called. I guess maybe we called one of the dads who worked for another dealership in town, and they contacted. They knew the sheriff or something. I can't remember all the details, but anyway, they called them. We reported it, and it was from the local Chevy dealer. And we thought, wow, this would be cool. They might even give us a reward. We found their stolen car, but instead they I don't know if they actually meant it. They accused us that maybe we were the ones that stole it and hid it up there in the woods.
Yeah.
So we had to talk our way out of that, but that was
Right.
kind of an unusual Sunday ride. Good morning, Miss Brett. Good to see you. How's Nashville this morning?
Good morning, Brett.
Did I miss anybody else? Let me take a quick look here in chat. Not that it's moving all that fast.
Oh, I think we got it. Got everyone.
I think so. Triple P getting ready for the show. Let's see what time. I got to keep my eye on the time. I got about 15 minutes here. Lynn and Triple P and Josh are going to be on at 11. So, I encourage everybody to go over and listen to them. And after I leave here, that's where I'll be headed, I'm pretty sure. And we'll go from there. I'm not sure if they're going to talk about trips. They may be going to talk about trips. They've both been to Disney recently.
Yeah, they all met up. I think they
sure did.
They met Lynn. So yeah, big gathering.
Big guy, yeah. It turned out to be quite a bunch of people, quite a bunch of YouTubers down there. I was actually kind of envious. I'd like to go down and meet a bunch of folks in this room right now, and folks that aren't here right now. I'd really like to go down and get in one of those kind of meetups sometime.
Oh, I know, that would be great.
You might have slept in, but it's it's still not all that early. It's going on about 9:45 your time, so I get that. I almost slept in too. I woke up early and thought, well, it's too early to get up and go downstairs yet to do this, and which I should have done.
I had to get up early this morning. I had to go to the hospital to get a little more testing done.
This morning?
Yeah.
What time did you have to go do that?
I had to be there by 5:30, 6:30 your time.
Hey, I gotta talk coffee for a minute. I'm gonna do a spiel for this cup. Can everybody see that? It says it's a mighty mug, and if you see it when I turn it up, the bottom's orange. That's a loose plate. It wiggles when you touch it. When you set that thing down on a flat surface, if it's smooth, you can't lift it. Well, you can lift it straight up, but it has resistance. But if you try to push it over sideways, can't do it. It's made not to tip over, which is something I needed a lot.
See, that'll be good for flying.
Yeah, and a friend of mine had one at work, and I said, "Where'd you get that? What is it?" Because he was showing it off one day. I mean, it won't really do it on my desk because it's not smooth enough and it's rough. But if you put it on anything that's smooth, it's hanging up a little bit. I mean, you can push it and grab it, and it won't. You could force it, and it would turn over. But just to push it, it won't just flip over. There it is. It won't just flip over and spill. Which, again, like I said, if you drink as much coffee as I did, and if you're prone to spilling your coffee, it's a really good thing to have. And so I highly recommend these. These are, I don't know who invented it, where it came from, but it's a mighty mug. Check them out sometime if you're out. That's not a paid advertisement. It's just a personal recommendation.
I'll have to take a look.
Yeah, they're really handy.
I found a really nice mug. Of course, it had not a painted orca on it, but it had just an orca and really nice mug, huge, just really tall mug, and keeps everything, does what it's supposed to do. It keeps everything either icy cold or nice and hot. So,
Well, that's what it's really all about.
right.
Speaking of orcas, have you watched the Disney? Do you have Disney Plus? Have you seen the Disney Orca special, about the whales? The first one's about orcas.
Not yet, but I saw the preview for it, and
Really
I
good.
need to watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, you do, because it's well, I mean, you probably know it, but I mean, I feel like I know about some of that stuff, but I didn't know some of the things they were telling. I knew some of it. I'd heard it before.
Yeah.
I know dolphins, for example. Well, what I'm getting at is that, that I didn't realize how. I don't think I realized quite how individual the pods are, the clans, as they also call them.
Yep.
Of orcas in different places, and how every orca pod, every orca clan has their own unique traits and characteristics, and even their own dialect. I mean, you think about squeaks and beeps and things that whales make and orcas make, and who knew they all spoke a different, probably not a different language, but at least a different dialect.
It is. It's their own individual language, kind of like how humans, how we all have our own different language. Like New Zealand orca, they have their own language. Some of the resident orcas, there's northern and southern resident orcas. They both have their own language, and they're only 20 or 30 miles apart from each other. The transients, they have their own language. I mean, every ecotype, and there's 10 different ecotypes. They all don't eat seals.
Right.
A lot of them don't. They eat just fish.
Some of them some eat rays. That was one of the New Zealand features they were showing last night. Was a clan that feeds almost entirely on rays.
Yep. And they just take the liver out of the rays.
Yeah, well, they opened them up and took. Well, yeah, they want that. Well, they just mentioned the organs. They didn't really get specific, but because that's where most of the nutrients and whatnot are. I mean, hey, Space Mountain Dave, welcome in. Bye, Brett. We'll see you all in a little bit. Mike, do you read? Mike said if the whale start having a Boston accent, he's going to lose it. That would be pretty funny. They need to put Tina on that show and let her translate. No, but it was fascinating because they showed. They also talked about how most of those type. It's interesting to me that most large mammals, whales, elephants, tend to be matriarchal-led societies or groups. Yep. And they talked about the grandmother a lot in the orcas because they apparently do a lot of the teaching, and that makes sense. The older the living being is, the more it knows and learns. And so the female, the grandmother teaches all the younger females how to hunt and do the things. And they said if they don't, it's important that they grow up in that society, because if they don't, they may not be able to do the things they need to survive. And the example of that was they brought in this wasn't in New Zealand, this was in the Falklands maybe or somewhere else. They showed a pod that had picked up a stray young male. I don't know if they said teenager, if they said he was probably younger than that, but he was from a different clan. They had no idea exactly where. They just knew he was new. And he was trying to learn how to catch. I believe in that group, they did eat sea lions or seals, but they had learned to rush up on the beach. And I've seen that before. Didn't realize how. I just thought all orcas did that, but they don't. But they would, the grandmother would run up on the beach in the waves and grab a seal off the beach. And if you don't do it right, you get stuck in the sand for one thing, or you don't catch the seal, so you don't eat. So he was trying to learn that trait, but he was really struggling with it. And they said that was largely because he didn't grow up in that family, so he didn't learn it from a very young age how it's done. And it's very difficult for them to learn it once he grew up to a certain point. So I thought that was fascinating.
and it can be difficult, and that's in the Argentina area.
Yeah, yeah,
It
right.
can be a little difficult, and the matriarch will also point out the tides. I mean, this is how intelligent they are. They will point out when the good time is,
Yeah,
when the tide is in, and when they go and get a seal, or when they practice to beach themselves, the matriarch or um, another female will hold them on the beach. They'll be right behind them, and they'll tell them, no, I know it's uncomfortable, but you have to get used to this. So
mm-hmm.
they'll keep pushing them up on the beach. Not enough to where they're stranded, but just
Right.
enough to where they have a more comfortable feeling for it. And they may do that 3 or 4 times until they're ready.
Mike Wheeler, that's funny. I just want you to know I caught that Minnesota accent. Don't you know? Don't you know? I can't say it. They'd be having hot dishes and all that stuff. There's a funny guy on the internet. His name was I can't think of his name. I can't think of anything this morning. His last name's Berrens, but he's actually not Minnesotan. He's Wisconsin, but he is funny with talking about Minnesotans and Wisconsinites, how they speak and the things they do. So, Dave, you said you need a translator for all accents. I know you're in Florida, but where did you originate from, Dave? Space Mountain Dave. Tina McNeil, good morning, Miss Watcher. Oh, do I have a special surprise for you? I can't wait to show it to you. I believe you've forgotten that conversation, but you put an idea in my head a couple of weeks ago and it stuck, and I'm going to make it reality. Oh, Central Michigan or Michigan. I mean, well, you ought to fit right in with some of the other folks here. Miss Carkey Carroll, she's from Michigan. Lynn's Michigan. Yeah, he would be a Michigander. I still think the female Michigan natives should be Michigese, but
Yep,
that's just my opinion.
well, it makes sense.
We're just weird. Yeah, trust me, you're really no weirder than the rest of us, and probably not near as weird as you might think. Except that this thing about eating ranch on everything. Do you eat ranch on everything, like Lynn says? Okay, did I miss anybody else besides Tina or other Tina?
See, Lynn likes cheese, which you would think
She likes
she would be
cheese.
from Wisconsin, but
Yeah, but I think that area. Well, that's right. She's from Michigan, though, not even Minnesota. Yeah, she's a cheesehead, but a bit. But she also likes ranch. Every time there's a a State Farm commercial or something where the guy in the red suit and khaki slacks or whatever. I can't think of his name. That guy calls in the middle of the night.
uses ketchup.
Yeah, well, there's a commercial though where this pizza delivery lady brings him a stack of pizzas and a side of ranch, which is a gallon jug of ranch dressing. And because he got her a deal, for insurance, and she said, "Oh, and I threw in a side of ranch." And I always think of Lynn when I see that. No ranch, no ketchup. I can deal with ranch to a degree, but I am not a. I'm Carol. I'm a no ketchup. I'm in the no ketchup clan here.
Cheese is a female thing.
I don't know, Mike. That's entirely true. I mean, I like cheese too. I may just not like it as much as. See, my cup just stuck to the desk, and I grabbed it, and it didn't give. I'm telling you, these are, and they keep stuff warm all day. It's an amazing cup. Maybe they'll watch this someday, and they'll want to give me a affiliate or something. But I mean, if you're gonna like cheese, if you live up in at least around Wisconsin, it's a good place to be. My son-in-law married my youngest daughter's husband. He's from Wisconsin, and when they go up to visit, they always bring us back a bunch of cheese. And he really likes cheese curds. I like cheese. Cheese curds are okay, but I mean, I just soon have cheese. But they bring
Fresh
back some
cheese
really good
curds.
cheese from up there.
Yeah, fresh cheese curds. They're the best.
They're
You have to make sure
squeaky.
that they squeak. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I figured that out the first time I put one in my mouth. And he said, "Oh yeah, they squeak when you eat them." I said, no joke. It's kind of weird.
Apparently, the best ones in the country are from Madison, Wisconsin.
Madison, Wisconsin.
So,
He's from
yeah,
up that way somewhere. I'm not sure exactly how far they are from there, but they go to some local dairies that have, sales offices where you can walk in and buy fresh stuff. And he always
right.
brings back fresh cheese and fresh cheese curds. And I mean,
Yeah, you could buy
it's
ice cream
good.
right off the farm. You could buy cream
Yeah.
cheese. You could buy just about anything.
I used to go to Ohio to visit friends up there in Southern Ohio, and there was a guy right down the road that had a apple orchards. It's a family thing. They'd had the apple orchards for many years. And man, they had, I know this is a little bit different cheese, but they had the best fresh squeezed apple cider I have ever had in my life. That stuff was great. If you like that sort of thing, I did. I used to go up there just to get it sometimes when we'd visit. Man, it was good. If you were there at the right time of year.
There's a place in Wisconsin and I think it's only one of two places left in the world that makes, I can't think. It's like the stinkiest cheese out there.
Limburger?
Yes, thank you.
All I ever knew
they
about
still
Limburger
make it
cheese,
there.
people used to talk about putting it on other people's car manifolds so it'd stink up the car as it got hot.
Wow. Yeah, might as well add a little bit of sauerkraut on top of that. There
Might
you
as
go.
well.
Yeah.
I do like a little bit of sauerkraut once in a while. I like brats, and I do like a little bit of sauerkraut on them.
That's a big thing in Wisconsin also.
Yeah.
Brats and sauerkraut.
Dave Cantrell says he likes chocolate on everything. I could probably do that before ketchup. I mean, I can eat ketchup. I just don't. I don't live in ketchup. I mean, I know people put ketchup on practically everything, and I'm not. I don't put it on hot dogs. I don't put it on hamburgers. I don't. In fact, it just about gags me on a hamburger. I'll have to admit. But okay, Tina McNeil, tell me about Limburger. I mean,
right. I was
you have
just
to
getting
hold
ready
your nose to eat it, or I mean, how does that work?
It does it taste better than it smells? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. Tell us, Tina. Inquiring minds want to know this morning. And jeez, it's 11 o'clock, guys. Oh man, I'm about to run late here. All right, everybody. I hate to draw this. I mean, I'm learning here. I need to know about this cheese thing, so we're gonna have to come back and revisit this. But it is time for Lynn and Triple P to go on with Coffee and Contemplation, and they blessed me with their help and kindness to help get my morning chat started. And I always said I'd try to get off and never interfere with their chat when they came back. So Limburger and onion sandwiches. See, that's just like throwing that's like throwing stink on top of stink, Tina.
I think what is that? That's on rye too, right? Or no?
Oh, I don't know about that part. Just don't breathe in.
Right.
It does taste better than it smells. I know I've tried the other foods you don't want to breathe in on, but that's it takes a little bit of practice. All right, guys. Please, everybody, go off if you've got time and a chance to go over and see Lynn and Triple P, Josh, and Britt, and tell them I said I sent you, and I'm sorry we're a few minutes late. And just tell them that we got carried away with stinky cheese and I forgot to shut down on time. So
tell them Tim said Limburger.
Yeah, Limburger. And Chris, I appreciate
Limburger.
you coming in with us again this morning. You're always welcome, buddy. I don't just say that to make you feel good. You're always welcome. Conversations are always good, and Lord knows I could probably need the help just to keep things rolling good. You probably entertain people way better than I do. So I mean, you've been in here; they don't just have to listen to me. Is what I'm trying to say. And
well, thank you, brother.
But you're welcome anytime you feel up to it. Like I told you before, don't ever feel obligated. But by all means, you're welcome. Just let me know, and I'll get you a link, and we'll take off and run with it. Next week, folks, I don't know what we'll talk about. Well, we're going to go a little bit more into this cheese thing if I can remember it, but we'll have a little bit more time next week. So
I was going to say we'll put a little pin on on the Limburger.
On the Limburger, that's
you gotta
right.
go back to that.
All right, folks, I'm going to shut it down. True to my word. And see you guys over at Triple P's. And it's actually on Lynn's website today, or Lynn's stream YouTube page. I'll get it out in a minute. So everybody go over to Lynn's and let's have some more good fun over on Coffee and Contemplation, guys. See ya. Thanks, everybody.